Welcome to the Bold Dreams Held Loosely podcast. My name is Taryn Watts, and in this episode, I am joined by my friend Stephanie Overman. Steffi is a soul coach whose work is rooted in mindfulness, somatics, and self-nurturing. She is a certified mind rebel coach, registered trauma-informed yoga teacher, and certified meditation teacher. One thing that Steffi and I have in common, aside from being so utterly committed and devoted to walking our path towards the greatest vision for our lives, is that we wouldn't be able to do this without the support of other humans along our journey. And so this is what this conversation is really dedicated to. Steffi breaks down these really special humans into three categories. She calls them expanders, door openers, and vision holders. And so we're going to talk about what those three categories of people do and how they really help to support us in reaching our potential. We don't walk these paths towards our dreams and alone. And this episode gives everyone an opportunity to learn who the people are that really help to support us in our lives and how we can perhaps add more of them to our team as we walk this often very challenging path towards our dreams. We hope you enjoy. Steffi, welcome to the Bold Dreams Held Loosely podcast. It's such an honor to have you here, and it's so good to see you. It's been way too long since I've seen you last.
It's so good to be here, and it's so good to see you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a really, when we talked about what were we gonna talk about on this podcast, on this episode, and you brought forward this this meaningful topic that that I'm really excited to dive into today. And I guess the heart of what we're going to talk about is the humans, the souls, the people who come into our lives at like the exact right time to help us and support us and guide us in many different ways along our journey towards reaching our dreams. And I think that this is such an important conversation because we need one another. We need each other to get to where we want to be. We can't do this alone. It's actually not fun doing this alone. And so I'm really, really excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah. This has been so impactful for me. So it's something that I am constantly thinking about, how the different souls in my life help me get to where I need to be on my authentic path. Mm-hmm. Because you're right, it can't be done alone. It reminds me of the term Sangha, which is a group of people who come here to lift each other up or to help each other along their journey and really mirror back to them their own worth.
So, Steffi, can you share a little bit about the souls in your life who've helped do that for you?
Yeah, so I think there's three types of people that I want to talk about today. We have expanders, which is a term from the To Be Magnetic framework by Lacey Phillips. We have door openers, and we have vision holders. Expanders, I think we can start there, are people who are essentially role models who show you what is possible for you, who have walked the path before you have, so that you can say, I can do that too. Mm-hmm. I think for me, I have so many expanders, so many coaches in my life that show me what's possible. Taryn, you are one, definitely. And you don't have to know expanders personally. You can see them online, you can see them in a movie, but you're watching someone live their life and there's a part of you that says, "Oh, I want that too.
Yeah.
I want that
Ooh.
too."
Can we talk about this a little bit? Can we just like, and then we'll move into the vision holders and the door openers.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, so you see someone who's walking their path, who's committed to their, fullest potential, who's like embodying their fullest potential. And there's something inside of you. Okay, I think I'm thinking back in my own lived experience over many years. There's two things that sometimes happen to me. One is I can actually become like jealous and a little bit resentful of, well, they're doing it, I can feel myself in very unaligned times in my life when I am so far from my path. That's how I can feel. And then on times where I am feeling aligned and an expander comes into my life, it's so inspiring to see, especially another woman, oh my gosh, just doing it and living her truth and expressing herself and having firm boundaries around herself and just being so like in her divinity and in her like goddessness. And so I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on, have you any reflections or thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's funny that you say jealousy because it's something that I've been thinking about lately, jealousy and envy, and I love when jealousy and envy pop up because it's showing you what your soul desires. It is such like a
Oh, I
flag
love it.
waving in the air. And so it's okay if you're not at that point, but it's such an indication that your soul desires that, or maybe there's an unmet need. If you desire recognition, perhaps that's your inner child saying, "I want recognition too." So it's such an indicator to come back to yourself and see what's down there.
Mm. I love, love, love that.
Yes. And I love that you said women because for me, all of my expanders are women because I identify as a woman. And so it's really powerful for me to see personally women that are running their own business, women that are successful coaches, women that have firm boundaries. And I pick and choose expanders for different things. So I have my coaching expanders. I have my love life expanders. I have my home expanders that live in a way I want to live. So you can pick and choose too, and create a list of those people to come back to.
Mm. Wow. Um, I love how you're using this as a tool. I've never ever thought of this like this, Steffi. And so I love how you use this as a tool to help you.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I first of all, I'm curious to know what expanders come to your
Yeah.
mind as I say this.
Yeah.
But I think that what I always tell my clients or people in my life is curate your social media. Follow people who feel expansive to you. Envious and jealousy are one thing, right? If that's too
Mhm.
triggering, we don't we don't want you to go into
All
like a
social media to be a trigger. Yes.
no, we don't want that. But they don't have to be exactly like you. They can just have a fragment that really lights you up for whatever reason and their energy feels good. So, mute people on social media that don't feel expansive to you. It's something that only you know, and be lit up by the inspirational people.
There's another energy as you're talking, and I'm thinking about, there's another energy that comes up. And this one actually is, you know, um, the jealousy and envy was something that I experienced quite deeply when I was just so disconnected from myself and so disconnected. My dreams the vision for my life was so far removed. It felt there was just, it's almost like there was no connection to it. I could write it out, but I was like, this will never happen for me. I could never do this. And so when I saw other people doing their, like doing their, whatever their it is, they're created like just like some negative energy inside of me. So I haven't felt that energy for a very long time. However, an energy I have felt that I'm just, you're helping me to like kind of break open right now is almost a repelling energy. Okay, let me give you a very specific example so that so we can get into the nitty-gritty. For a little while, I was feeling repelled by energies, specifically online, because that's where it all is. Where like from very, very, very boundaried people. Some like very boundaries, like these are my boundaries. This is who I am, and this is what I will not accept. And to me, I was like, I was drawn in. I was energetically drawn in and repelled at the same time. And so what that taught me, what I knew to be true at that time was, oh, there's something here for me. There's like some deep shadow work here. This is not about the other person. This is all about me. What is this revealing to me? And so I needed to really sit with that. And what about these people asserting their boundaries and just like asserting their like goddessness and like, if you don't like it, leave kind of energy. And because that's the opposite energy as me. And it was like, this is mean. It's not inclusive. It's mean, you know? And that was the exact energy I needed to embody that I didn't quite know, that it doesn't look like what it looks like. It might not look like that, but it might look my own way. And so what I'm realizing as I start to, because that's my current growing edge, is these boundaries in my life and really asserting that and being okay with that and being okay with no and being okay with where I end and others begin and being okay with not being available to people all the time and really protecting my space, protecting my energy so that I can have life-giving boundaries so that I can give to others. And as a giver and a helper and a healer, that was hard for me. That was some hard lessons to learn. And now that I'm more fully embodying it, what I'm noticing is that I am no longer repelled. I'm no longer repelled by those same people that I was repelled by before. In fact, I'm drawn in. And I'm like, oh, you are now an expander for me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It's funny. Boundary expanders are massive, and boundaries is a whole nother topic, right? That I love. And I think you can show up with your boundaries in your own way. I always say boundaries don't have to be mean, but that could be my own shadow work.
But I agree with you. I don't think they have to be mean.
No.
And I won't be expressing my boundaries like those people that I see that I was repelled by, but it's the energy of how I'm going to, it doesn't have to be mean. In fact, it can be incredibly loving.
Yeah, I have a boundary expander. It's my therapist, actually.
Oh, tell me more.
I just, she has this energy. She has energetic boundaries where I wouldn't dare to, call her or ask for more than what we've negotiated together. She just shows up with these beautiful energetic boundaries that I'll say to myself when I'm walking around, in the real world, what would my therapist do here?
Mm.
How would she show up? She is my boundary expander because it's just silent, energetic boundaries. But I think a boundary expander is massive. I almost feel like everyone should have one.
So, okay, let's explore that a little bit more. A boundary expander. This is what I need to do next. This is on my to-do list. After our call, I'm gonna determine who is my boundary expander.
Mm.
And I love that your boundary expander is your therapist, and your boundary expander is someone who who has boundaries with you.
Oh, and that is huge. You know, it's funny because I think boundary work for me has been one of the most transformative things. But I, for a while, would be triggered when people would put their
Yeah.
boundaries on me.
Yeah.
Which is how ironic is that I'm
Right.
putting boundaries, yet I can't receive. And so I think what she is showing me is how I want to show up in my own boundaries. She has this energy of neutrality. It's not cruel because I think oftentimes the boundary pendulum can swing from people pleasing to a little bit cruel.
Like, right.
Yeah. And I think she has this neutrality and objectivity. And this isn't because you're bad energy that I also want to show other people that because that is who I am authentically. It's not because they're bad. Does that make sense?
It does. It feels like just like any. It feels like that. You're right. I feel this pendulum, and on one end of the pendulum, it's no boundaries. It's like, I am here. What do you need? Like just bleeding boundaries. Bleeding energy, bleeding heart. And on the other end, it's like really guarded. In the Mind Rebel Academy, we talk about the persona of the guard, which is like protecting something, and that end of the pendulum can be very assertive. It can be guarded, and it can be aggressive. It can be, and then there's the I think the fully embodied boundaries, which is this neutrality that you're talking about, that your therapist lives in, this neutrality. And sometimes we have to ourselves swing from the pendulums to find our center in it. And then it's just no longer a thing. It's just who we are. It's how we show up. And I think that's when we get to really fully just embody, we are boundaried. And what you just said was, it's her energy. You just know, right?
Which is the ideal state
to me.
I don't
have to. She doesn't have to declare it and scream it out to social media that this is her worth and this is her. I love that.
Yeah, it's very. I think that people can sense at the end of the day we are animals, and we can sense when somebody's energy isn't aligned. So if I'm giving you a really hard boundary, but I'm also it's coming from fear, and I'm kind of lashing out, you're going to sense that, and it's probably going to trigger anger in most people. So I think that we can sense when something isn't aligned. So to come back, it reminds me of the concept of the middle way, which in Buddhist philosophy is just finding the middle. To me, I can really rest easy in the middle way because you don't have to go to the extreme. You just have to get to the middle. You don't have to do a 180. You just have to do a 60. No, we might have to cut that out. That's not math.
That's okay. That is okay.
Can we cut that out, please?
But I hear what you're saying.
You can rest in the middle, and it does. You're exactly right, Taryn. I think it requires that we swing.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Just we're humans.
We're humans, and we're trying to find our way in this humanness, like this mess of humanness. And I think that what's becoming clear for me in this conversation is there was a there was a reason I was both drawn in and repelled by the energy I was feeling online by those assertive boundaries. And the reason I was drawn in was because boundaries was something I needed to work on. But the reason I was repelled was also because I could feel that I could feel the protection. I could feel the fear. I could feel the needing to declare it. And I could feel that energy too. And so there was this dissonance with like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, do I like this? I don't think I like you. Or I don't know, do I like you? I'm drawn into you, but I don't know, you're repelling me. And so I think there's like that can get tangled up too. But what's most important is it doesn't matter what's happening outside of us, what's going on inside.
Mm. It takes such a level of awareness as well to be triggered and inspired and say, let me come back and see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is the work at the end of the day. And it's messy and it's hard, but how beautiful is it that you can take the inspiration piece and hold that and say, I can do it in my own way as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you've got boundary expanders, you've got love life expanders, you've got business expanders, coach expanders. I love this. I love this. I love
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. It's so helpful to me when I'm struggling or having, low self-worth days or just days when you're down on your luck. It happens to all of us. Where can I see, okay, they've done this. They have
Mm-hmm.
proven to me that it's possible that I can do it too.
Mm. The level of self-worth and what you just demonstrated, it's not like, oh, they can do it, I can't. It's that your expanders show you it's possible to do it because you know that if they can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah. And in the to be magnetic framework, Lacey often talks about finding an expander that has some similarities to you so that you can kind of grasp on to that, whether that is what they look like, what they do, their age, whatever resonates with you.
Yeah.
For me, it's often just women
Yeah.
that are showing me what's possible. And so people that are similar to you that can show you it can be done. Yeah.
Mm.
What's
Okay.
popping up for you?
What's popping up for me is after this podcast, I'm going to start thinking about my expanders, specifically my boundary expander. Actually, no,
Mm,
sorry, I'm going to just like even refine that even more. I have excellent boundaries in my personal life.
mhm.
Where my growing edge right now is boundaries in my professional life, boundaries in work, boundaries in the MRA, as a business owner, as a teacher, as a coach, as a service provider, as a running a wholehearted and soul-led business. Where do I end? Where does that end?
Mm.
And so I'm looking for a boundary expander that has found that middle way that you describe. It is not screaming their boundaries on social media because that does not resonate with me. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. And I think it's so beautiful that you're trusting your intuition, which is what the MRA teaches at the end of the day. Your middle way might look different than my
Right.
middle way. My authentic way of expressing boundaries may look different than yours, but can you trust what feels good to you in this
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you
Mm.
for that, Steffi.
Oh, of course. Thank you. This is so enlightening.
All right, let's talk about vision holders. And this is a term you've coined. Let's
Yes.
talk, and I love this. Okay, let's talk about vision holders.
Yeah. So, vision holders are people who hold your vision when days are tough. Ideally, you can hold your own vision, right? That's the work. At the end of the day, we are trying to validate ourselves. But let's be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I personally can't do that every
Mm-hmm.
day. I sometimes need people to hold my vision. And for me, of course, working with a coach is coaches are
Yeah,
vision holders. That
that's what
that's
they
who
do. Yeah.
that is what they do. I work with a coach, I am a coach. It's really important that someone sees my vision. I also have different people in my life who hold different visions because it can be a lot for one person to hold all of your visions. So when days are tough, let's just take my love life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you
Mm-hmm.
know about this, Taryn. I'm calling in
Mm-hmm.
a partner. And when I can't see the road ahead of me, I feel blind. I feel there's fog everywhere. I reach out to my friend and I say, I can't see that light.
Mm-hmm.
All I want to do is curl up because I can't see it. I've put so much work in. Da 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 da, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
circling. And she reaches out her hand and grabs mine and walks with me that
Oh.
day. And so for a couple days, we're holding hands and walking on the road. And maybe she gives me a lantern and, packs my backpack full of snacks and sends me on my way when I'm feeling good again and I can walk the road. But a vision holder has to feel so safe to you because you are telling someone your most authentic desire, which is so sacred. And you know, as a coach, that when someone tells you their authentic desire, that is the most vulnerable, sacred piece of information. So I think the most important thing is finding a vision holder who feels incredibly safe to you.
Mm. A coach, a friend, someone you trust.
Yeah.
Um, what was it about this friend? What are the qualities of this friend? It sounds like such a this really special friendship.
It is, and I think I have a great group of friends, but I have a small group of soul friends. So my soul friends are my vision holders. And this friend she holds space beautifully for me and she validates my authentic desires. I could have an authentic desire to go to the moon and to have someone say, you know what, I think that if that's what you want, they also need to believe it,
They
of
believe you.
course.
I could not agree more. Steffi, we talk a lot. So in practitioner training, like in
Mhm.
part one of the coach training series, we do our visioning. You walk away with your life vision statement. You're also like an authentic self statement of this is who I am and this is what I deeply desire. And many of the students even share it with each other. And I always say that it is so it is magnetizing. It is so powerful to express your deepest yearnings, your deepest desires, your greatest vision for your life to another human who can hold that for you, who can look at you and say, I believe you. Why? Because I also have a vision for my life. So they can hold that for you. And someone believing you and not like kind of like projecting their limiting beliefs on you or looking at you sideways, or you can energetically feel when someone can't hold your vision for you. And that's why sharing, I love what you said about how sharing your vision, like the deepest yearnings of your soul, is so vulnerable. It's so vulnerable.
It is. And I think the beauty is, especially for me, I think of the coaches I work with, and, you know, Taryn, you and I have talked before, and I've given you my vision. Again, let's just take my love life as an example because that's a big one for people. And to know that we could not talk for 5 years, but you know my vision. And it's in the back of your mind somewhere. And so to know that someone knows my vision is really, really expansive. What is a vision? I'm curious, Taryn, what is a vision that comes up for you that someone holds, if you're okay sharing that?
Yeah, so I'm thinking of as you were sharing your story, I'm thinking of my vision holders, um, and I have a few vision holders. I'm very lucky to be surrounded by coaches, like who are vision holders. It's like my network is coaches.
Yes.
My whole team, my best friend is a coach. My team are coaches, which is wonderful. And um, and there's two in particular that are coming to the forefront of my mind, and they hold my vision in different ways. And I've actually never thought of this before, Steffi, so it's kind of still forming, but they hold my vision in different ways, in much different ways. And I also think about my husband is also a vision holder for me, and that's in a very different way too. My husband and I have a vision for our lives that captures, we're both entrepreneurs, it's both of our businesses, it's our kids, it's our family, it's how we want to travel, it's how we want to live. So it's much more personally focused, whereas the two other vision holders are much more business focused. And you know, those three relationships they're the most important relationships of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my people.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't imagine not having. I'm not sure I could do what I'm doing without their support and guidance and helping to hold this vision for me on the darkest of days.
The darkest of those days are a shared human experience.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a lot of rhetoric which is helpful about validate yourself, right? Inner child work where we're saying your dreams matter, but it's not just a flip of the switch. We
No.
need support.
We need each other.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steffi, if someone's listening to this thinking, I don't think I have a dream holder in my life. How would you guide them, or how would you mentor them in search for that?
Yeah. That's such a great question. So I think the first thing I would say is, who is your highest self? Because our highest self, of course, holds our deepest desires. And then I would just get curious about, who in your life do you feel really safe around? And if no one comes up, because sometimes we're at a point in life where maybe we feel very alone or don't feel safe around people, can you join a group? Can you find your sangha, your community of people who are dedicated to their own journeys? Whether that is in something like the Mind Rebel Academy or a yoga class or whatever calls to you. What do you really enjoy doing? Rock climbing, you know, your group of people. Can you work with a coach? We are vision holders. That's what we do. So that's what comes up for me. I'm curious if you have any other ideas as well, because that is a fantastic question.
Yeah, I love this invitation to search for it and search for like-minded people. And then there's this extra layer of sharing your vision with someone is vulnerable, right? So I would also invite you to reflect on that. reflect on what's coming up for you when you think about sharing. Because you're going to share your deepest yearnings with someone, and they're going to look at you sideways, and you're going to feel this big, and you're going to want to go crawl under a rock and be like, I can't do it. Oh my gosh, right? It's going to happen in search for the people who can hold it. But when you find the people who can hold it, those become your vision holders. Those become your people, and then you don't seek it out. I should speak for myself, but I don't seek outside guidance or advice or before I go to my people, right? Like when you find your people, those are your people.
Those are your people, your friends, your coach, your therapist.
Yeah.
That it's so funny that you say, because you're going to tell people and they're going to look at you sideways. I mean, telling people you're a life coach, a coach. I still have a little shadow there, but
right. Absolutely.
I could make like a blooper reel of reaction faces.
Oh my gosh. Totally. I left my corporate job, a decade-long corporate job. It was a crown corporation of the government of Canada, like full benefits, full pension. Like you could imagine to go be a life coach. I'm going to go be a life coach over here. Like you can imagine the reactions I got and the looks and the projections. And the truth of the matter is that people who can hold your vision are not projecting onto you.
That's it, Taryn. Yes, it's because when someone reacts with hesitation or whatever's coming, it's often their own stuff.
It's their own stuff. Yes.
Their own fears, their own
limitations about what's possible for their life. Yes.
Correct. You might become an expander for them. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about expanders, we've talked about vision holders. Any last thoughts on vision holders before we move on to door openers?
I think I just want to say that you can have different people hold your visions, and you don't need that many people. It's what you and I just talked about. I think it's someone that feels safe, that doesn't project, to your point.
Yeah.
And there's a lack of judgment and more an energy of understanding or celebrating, like a cheerleader in your life.
You know what else is occurring to me that feels important, and I'm not sure if this is a blanket statement, but it feels important for me with my vision holders, is that unless I'm paying them to hold my vision, like I pay a coach or a therapist, that it's reciprocal.
Yes.
It's not one-sided.
1,000%. That is so important. 1,000%. 1,000%.
I hold my vision. Sorry, I hold your vision. You hold mine. And on days when I need you, I reach out. On days when you need me, you reach out. And hopefully we're not crashing and burning at the same time. And even on those days, it's okay because we're together.
It truly is. Those days are okay. And to be so vulnerable with someone, you do almost end up laughing.
You do. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think big important point is it's reciprocal.
Door openers. This is another term you've coined. I want to hear more about door openers.
Yeah, I might need a better name for this other than a door opener.
I like it. It's clear. We know what's coming.
So door openers get me really excited because they have shown up for me in my life. Door openers are people who literally and figuratively open doors for you. They create opportunities for you. They invite you in. Now, I am a projector in human design, so I love being invited in. But I think that we all have these people in our life that we might not recognize. So for me, a few door openers come up. I had a boss at my job who just opened opportunities for me. What excites you? What do you enjoy doing? And just invited me in over and over again. Taryn, I think you inviting me to this podcast. You are a door opener and an expander for me, inviting me to have these different opportunities to write. That's a door opener. It's someone who sees your potential sometimes before you do, sometimes, and invites you in. There's another coach, a business coach, who invited me in because she really sees my potential to provide meditation. And so it's opportunity driven, but it's someone lending a helping hand. Is that clear?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I love how you've labeled this. I really love how you've labeled this because what am I trying to, I'm thinking through a thought and it's coming. But I love how you've named that, maybe not labeled, but named it. Um, because it makes these opportunities more meaningful. And you're naming it for what it is, an opportunity. I'm not sure I would have otherwise thought of it that way. And I think that they could be very small. They could
Very
be
small.
micro. But this is someone opening a little door for you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're big doors.
And typically, I think, in my experience, door openers have been steps ahead of me in their life. So in a way, for them, it might feel like a small door, but for me, it's a big door. So
Ooh.
they are like 1 to 10 steps ahead of me, and they're saying, I believe in you. And they create opportunities for you. You know, when I was teaching yoga, I had a yoga studio owner that would just invite me in to host workshops and to really be authentic. I think that's the important thing with door openers, is that it's not someone who's opening a door and saying, do it my way. It's someone who's opening a door and saying, do it your way, because I see the magic that you hold. So in a way, they hold your vision, but there's this opportunity component.
Mm.
And they are ahead of you in their journey.
So many thoughts are coming up.
Yeah,
They're swirling in
yeah.
multiple directions. I love what you just said and what you just clarified about door openers are usually a couple steps ahead of you. And to them, it might be this small door, but to you, it's a really big one. That's really planted inside of my mind. And I love the energy of gratitude that you, like yes, someone can open a door for you, but are you going to, like, what are you going to do with that door? How are you going to arrive into that door? And I think what I love about it, the way you've named this, is because it's helping you to energetically prepare to walk through the door with a heart filled with gratitude and just like a recognition that this is a door opening for me. Who knows where it's going to lead or what opportunities are going to come from it, but it's just coming from this really energetic, aligned place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a great point, Taryn. And what just occurred to me is I wonder if door openers even know that they're door openers.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do, because
I
I was,
didn't know. I didn't know
yeah,
this. I didn't know I was a door opener for you.
yeah.
That never occurred to me.
I just realized that because as I was sitting here, I was like, have I opened any doors for people? And
Well, that's what I was quite trying to think of too. Doors am I opening for
no,
others? Yeah.
and nothing occurs for me. I'm sure that's not the truth. It, for me, it's going to feel like a very small door, but for someone else, it can feel very big. So I don't think Yeah, that you're not conscious of it as a door opener. But I love the point you made about this preparation, this energy preparation to walk through the door. That is massive.
Mm, yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's this window of opportunity, and without attaching any meaning to it. Like, this thing has to get me this many clients to make it worth it. Like, that's just the wrong energy. But to really prepare yourself to walk through that door with this, like, with this, in this aligned energy, and this, with this open heart and this openness to possibility. Um, Another thought I just had was, I also wonder if consciously opening doors for others, like bringing this all to our conscious awareness now of like, okay, how can I open doors for others who are a couple steps behind me, but I see their potential, and I have something that would be easy to just offer them or open a door for them. What would that be? And I just wonder if that consciously opening doors for others also helps us to be prepared for when doors are open and recognize when doors are being opened for us.
I just got full body chills because I think that it's, yes, it's consciously giving back. It's consciously giving back. And it's funny though, Taryn, because I'm still, as you're talking, I'm like, I don't think she knows how many doors she's opened.
No.
I think, which is fun. Like, that's the beauty of who you are, is you're doing this selflessly, but it's really hitting me. I'm just like, I don't think she realizes the doors that,
No.
oh, you've opened all the doors in a castle. Um, I, but to be conscious and to make an effort to open doors is a really magical thing. Once again, my door openers, for the most part, have been women.
Mm.
And I think it's really impactful because for me to see to have another woman say, like, come on, you can do this. And door openers also hold your hand while going through the door. They don't just open the door, they hold your hand while you're doing it. And I think what's key is, again, they're not projecting their own agenda onto you. They
Mm.
see your authenticity and they allow you to creatively express that within whatever the assignment is.
Mm. So it's kind of like a concrete example is inviting you onto this podcast and saying, Steffi, what's on your heart that you want to express and explore?
1000%.
Mm.
And so for you, it might be a little door. For me, it's a massive door. Also, to be creative, I should say, also to show up as myself for an hour with you is such a gift,
Mm-hmm.
and not feel filtered or like there's anything I need to adhere to. But I'm curious, Taryn. I
Mm.
really want to know who has opened doors for you in the past.
The first person that comes to my mind, um, the first person that it's actually a male, and he was a manager of mine when I was in the corporate world. And I had, in all my years there, I had this one leader who, I was always like, I was trying to fit myself into a environment, into work that just didn't fit me. It was just I don't know. It was just not me. It was not. I couldn't express myself. I wasn't. I tried. I tried real hard to find a home for me there. But he saw me. Like, he really. He was the only one who really, really saw me and saw the little bit of misfitedness that I felt, and did his absolute best, everything he could possibly do to create opportunities for me to fully self-express who I am. And didn't try to change me, didn't try to mold me into the perfect corporate human, because that was not me. And again, even though I left that job, his leadership style and who the doors he opened for me, because those were the happiest years of my life in my corporate role. I really didn't like what I was doing, but those were the happiest years of my life. I was in a position where I was fully self-expressing. Now, that's not a sustainable solution, because I can't follow him everywhere everywhere I go in the organization. So when he left that role, I was kind of back to, I don't know where I fit here. But for those years, he opened so many doors for me, and didn't try to change me, and held my hand through those doors, and saw something in me that I didn't see there because I didn't think I belonged or fit there. That's the first person who's really standing out to me, who made such a big impact in my life. And also, he became the model of how I want to lead my own team, and the doors I want to open for my own team, and the way I want to say, the way I do see their fullest potential, and do everything in my power to create the platforms and the outlets for them to thrive and to fully self-express in those outlets. That's how big of an impact he made on me.
It sounds like he was an expander, a vision holder, possibly, and a door
you know
opener.
What? You're right. He was all those things for me. And interesting, he was a male, right? Because a lot of my typical expanders or vision holders they're female, but he made such an impact in my life.
That's really, really powerful. It's funny because as you're saying this, something occurred to me, I think, with all three of these groups of people. Is you mentioned gratitude, and that really hit home, because I think identifying all three of these really shifts the attitude towards
it does
gratitude. And then how can we hold gratitude and also be grateful without putting them on a pedestal? And I think that can be that's a fine line, is that we want to celebrate these people, but anytime we put someone on a pedestal, they can fall. And so can we just be grateful for them and also validate ourselves at the same time? Does that?
Ooh, yeah, that's landing. Yeah. I'm wondering if we could explore that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Something about that is landing deeply, and I'm not exactly sure why. Putting someone on a pedestal, and then it almost dehumanizes them. So when they falter, and I think the reason this is landing with me, Steffi, is because I've experienced that. I know when someone has put me on a pedestal, and I also know when I have not met their perceived, what they wanted from me. And I've felt the fallout from that, and it was crushing to me. And it made me angry that they even put me on a pedestal in the first place.
Fair.
Right? And so I'm wondering if we could unpack this pedestal thing a little bit more.
Yeah, I think I bring it up because it's something that I've struggled with. I imagine it's, again, another shared human experience, is when we identify an expander, a door opener, a vision holder, they become kind of like a magical unicorn.
And not a real human. Yeah.
Yes. And I think also when you're in a teacher, a coach, a leadership role, it's quite common that people are projecting their needs onto you, and you kind of become the savior. And that's a hard place to be.
You can't live up to that.
You're not going to live up to it, because
especially not with boundaries.
No, and you're human. You're human.
Right.
And so it's a hard one because I can get in the habit of doing that, especially when I see where people are and I'm like, oh, I have to be exactly like them, or I have to, they have the magic secret. And so it's really remembering that I can be grateful for them. I can feel my need or my desire to project all my fears onto them, and I can validate myself and tell myself that I am just as worthy as them and
Mm-hmm.
they are just as worthy as me, and we're both human. So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of holding duality. To me,
Mm.
that's how it comes up for me, is that it's not really comfortable to, it's much more comfortable to say, Taryn, you're a magical unicorn, and you know you make the magic happen in my life, and you know it all. Like, that's much easier for me to do.
Yeah, because it's black and white. It's all in or all out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a little less comfortable to say, dang, this is my own journey. Taryn isn't going to save me
Mm-hmm.
or give me the magical recipe, but I can be incredibly grateful for her as well. That's not very
Mm.
comfortable.
You're right. No, it's not.
Mm-mm.
Um, and what's coming for me right now is the the humans who can do that, sit in the discomfort, sit in the gray middle, hold two truths at once. Um, the people who can do that are the people that I feel safest around.
Mm.
Whether those are people who I'm closest to or people I talk to once a year. It's
Mhm.
energetically you can feel that in someone else, and those are the people that I feel safest with.
Yeah, Taryn, I think I'd love to hear about your perspective here, because I have a feeling it happens to you much more frequently than it happened to me. I mean, it happens to me when I teach a yoga class very
Mm-hmm.
easily.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone thinks that the yoga teacher is like the one, and you help them
Yeah.
feel this way, but it was all them. That's
Right.
that's the secret.
Yeah.
But it can be a lot to have someone's energy like desperately reaching out to you, I would imagine. What is that like
Mm-hmm.
for you?
Hmm. Oh, Steffi.
I know.
We're going deep now.
I know.
I like it. This is the crux of my growing edge and my boundaries.
Mhm.
This is the crux of it.
Yeah.
Um, the first time I experienced it was in my very first group program launch, and it was the first time I'd ever experienced that, and it was interesting because it was very much, there was this energy I could feel of someone putting me on this magical pedestal and kind of looking at me with star glazed eyes, and I was like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. Something doesn't feel safe about this because that's not me. I should not ever be on a pedestal. I am, in my vision statement, Steffi, I have this new line in my vision statement that says, I am extraordinarily ordinary.
Mm.
And that sounds probably counterintuitive to so many people, but to me, it's everything. And I think it's actually, that line was created from these experiences. I am extraordinarily ordinary. And I don't ever want to be put on a pedestal because I can't live up to your expectations. And I've tried, and I've crashed and burned and had my heart broken.
Mm.
And I don't ever want to experience that again. And so, but I'm the one who has to hold those boundaries, right? I can't control how other people perceive or see me. I'm the one who has to hold that for myself.
For yourself. And it's almost like a boundary to me is a mirror that you're putting up that's saying, hey, you can actually take care of your own needs to the
Yeah,
other person.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I can share my, my story and the vision for my life. And yes, I am like a steadfast, like, I will like walk that path towards my vision, and I will steadfastly do it, and I'm committed to it. But you can too, right? Like you can too. And we can walk along our path side by side, and if I'm one of your, your vision holders, I can hold your hand for parts of that, but this is your path to walk. It's not mine.
This just came to me, Taryn. I imagine that based on that vision statement and based on the role that you're in most days, that your personal vision holders allow you to be extraordinarily ordinary. Is that
Yes, they
true?
do. That could not be more true.
Mm.
Yeah, there's no pedestal.
No, they allow you to be human.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, Steffi, didn't know we were going there. We just touched a really beautiful corner of my heart that I don't think I've ever expressed in this way. So thank you for this.
Thank
Thank you for this
you.
whole conversation.
Right back at you. I learned so much about this and the gratitude shift. I think, can we sum up some action steps for anyone
Yeah,
who
let's
wants
do it.
to?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's let's maybe co-create here so you can add in anything that feels intuitive to you. But I'm thinking, okay, so we have three types of people in your life and they might be one and the same as well. We
Hmm.
have expanders. These are people who show you that it's possible, whatever your authentic desires are. We have vision holders. These are people who hold your vision on those dark days. And we have door openers. These are people that are a few steps ahead of you and open doors. They create opportunity for you. If you didn't know where to start with finding these people, I think the first thing I would suggest is making a list
Hmm.
and just letting your mind go wild. Remember that not all of these people, especially expanders, have to be people you know. So you can find people on social media. That's such an accessible way to find people. But I personally like to first have my vision statement, have the things that I see for myself, and especially look at the things that I tend to struggle isn't the right word, but I'm calling in and I make a list. I have my coaching business, I have my love life, I have home, all these things that I'm calling in, and then I make a list for each one. What are your thoughts? Anything else?
Yeah. I naming it,
Mm.
doing a little mind mapping around it, I think is a fantastic first step, because then you're almost taking inventory of, okay, you might think, I don't think I have any of these, but think, really look at it, because that might not be true. They might not be as nurtured or as close as you want, but they might be there ready to be nurtured. So take inventory. Notice who's already there. How can you breathe more life into that? Um, so for me, what's coming up is, the three vision holders that I just named. Like, oh my gosh, this whole conversation has made me so grateful for them in a way that I haven't conscious, consciously said or felt.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to like send them a message after this and say, I'm so grateful for you, and nurturing those relationships. But see what's already there and then take inventory of where your gaps are. And I think that some of the suggestions you gave earlier about, okay, if there are gaps, how can you close that gap? So joining groups, finding your people, finding a community, daring to share your vision with someone else, you know, and also being willing to receive the side eyes or the confused look, and that's okay. Don't let that stop you from moving on to the next person until you find your people.
Yes. Oh, that is fantastic. The
Yeah.
blooper reel of reactions.
The blooper reel of reactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think something that you identified here that I hadn't really put my finger on is that gratitude shift.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can you, once you identify these people, perhaps thank them if that feels aligned to you or recognize them? Because, especially if they're a door opener, they probably don't know.
They probably don't know.
They
I
probably
think that's
don't.
a really important to note. They probably don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, Taryn, I think a position I'd love to be in, but then I probably, again, don't know that I'm in, is if you have the means to being a door opener, how can you open more doors? And remember, they're probably going to feel like little doors to you if you're able to do that, but they're big doors to someone else.
Mm, yeah. I think those are some really great concrete next steps. Um, making a list of the expanders, vision holders, door openers, um, infusing that gratitude, and asking yourself how can I open more doors for people? Who can I, very consciously, how can I open more doors for people? I love this.
That's it. And what's so funny is really the message that this is coming back to is that we're all doing this work together.
We really are. We really are. We're traveling. This is such inner work, such an inward journey, but we're traveling alongside one another. You can't do my work for me. I can't do your work for you. Your vision is different than my vision, but we're walking alongside one another. And what I love about relationships like this, Steffi, is you and I could not talk for years. But like you said, we have nuggets of each other's visions in our hearts, and we could hold that for each other. And you know, there's people out in the universe who have that in their hearts for you.
Oh, full body chills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're all in this together.
Yeah. Steffi, this was such a wonderful, soul-filling conversation. I'm wondering if you could just let people know, because I'm sure many people are listening to this feeling very drawn in by your gorgeous energy. How can people learn more from you, reach out to you? If you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd love that. So you can find me on Instagram at Steffi. That's Steffi with just an I, Steffi Overman. Or you can find me at steffioverman.com. You can send me a message. I do one-on-one coaching sessions currently, so we can always connect. I offer free consultations just to get to know you, make sure it's a good fit. But I would love to simply connect on social media. Let me know what your visions are, who your vision holders are. I would love that, who your expanders are. Yeah,
Awesome.
feel free to connect.
I will put all those details in the show notes below so that people can contact you.
Thank you.
Steffi, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Taryn. This was lovely.
Thank you so much for listening. For more information, you can visit our website at www.themindrebel.com or visit us on Instagram or Facebook at the_mind_rebel_academy. And these links can all be found in the show notes below. If you like this episode, we would be so grateful if you shared it with your fellow bold dreamers.